All of my children of the night, greetings. Welcome to my channel. So I just got back from witnessing the cinematic masterpiece of Nosferatu. It was a really good movie. I really didn't know what to expect, but the storyline plays out like Bram Stoker's Dracula. I wasn't really surprised by that, but it was more gruesome and it was a bit more straight to the point. There was no romance. There was just more of obligation. And what I really liked about what I loved about the movie was the fact that it had such a dark tone. There was no fluff in it. It was just violent, carnal. Another aspect of the film that I really loved was how seamless it would go from black and white to variations of color, but the color was never bright. It was always monotone, and it really fed into the disposition of the movie. The dark overtones of the theme were fluid with the dark overtones of the camera lens and the way everything was filtered. All the characters had like different names from what I was used to. Willem Dafoe basically played Dr. Van Helsing. Mina was someone else. Everybody just had different names, but you could tell their roles if you're familiar with Bram Stoker's Dracula, either the movie or the book. And the roles are really nice. Another aspect of the movie that I really enjoyed was it almost seemed like demonic possession. Like it felt like The Exorcist at some points. The vomiting, the spilling of blood, the convulsing bodies. Very interesting. One of the characters that I expected to rise back up from the dead and become a vampire did not, so that threw me off. The ending of the movie was abrupt. The solution was abrupt and so simplistic. The reasoning behind why it took an entire movie for the solution to play out when the character knew what she needed to do made sense. Like, just because you know what to do doesn't make it any easier. She had to make a sacrifice, and sacrificing in any situation is difficult. Yeah, every character acted really well. Willem Dafoe has this thing where he can be hysterical and serious, but it'll always come across as a little bit funny. But it added much needed relief to the very bleak story and the very dramatic acting of all the other characters. So he was a welcome addition to the movie. I'm very happy that he was in the movie. And I just recently saw him in Beetlejuice, and it was the same way in that movie, except the role that he played was meant to not be serious at all. So it flowed more. But this role is meant to be serious. Even in his serious undertone, it comes across as like funny. But luckily it broke up the monotony of like all these actors kind of having the same energy. He kind of gave a different performance, but it really worked well. What else did I like about the movie? The music just fits so well. It really made you feel like it was a horror movie. Like it wasn't like classical or too pretty, or it really fit the theme. Everything that was happening, the soundtrack, the score worked perfectly with the scenes. Is there anything I didn't like about the movie? I felt like it was drawn out. I feel like there were certain parts that had a lot more detail than needed, and then other parts didn't have quite enough detail. Examples of those: the character going from, was it Germany, or I think it was in Germany, all the way to, I'm gonna call him Vlad. They call him something else in this movie. Nosferatu, going to his castle. The trip there, it was just elongated, and it didn't really provide much character development, or it didn't really make the trip more entertaining. It just elongated it. He stopped at some random place. People were laughing at him. I mean, it gave character development as to, well, it gave development towards the rumors of Vlad. Like, oh, you can't go to that castle. It'll corrupt you. You'll be stuck there. So it gave character to that. It kind of made, it kind of had a run-on theme with like how a lot of scenes and a lot of parts in the movie were a fever dream. As people are laughing at him, they're poking fun at him, they're telling him, oh, you're a fool, you need to turn around. And then he witnesses all of them stabbing a man that's in a coffin. And then he tries to stop him, like, hey, you can't do that, that's murder. And he blacks out, wakes up, and then everyone's gone, the place is abandoned. So I actually really enjoy the aspect of you don't know what the character is imagining and what's actually happening. But it starts to bleed and blend so well that some characters have the same images and visions as other characters, and they could confide in being quote unquote insane together, while other characters don't see it and they're like trying to tell you, oh, you know, you probably got the plague, or you're exhausted, you're tired, you're seeing things. So the aspect of hallucinations versus these things are happening, but it's so unbelievable that not only the person that's happening, the person that's experienced it can't tell if it's real or not, but the people around. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to call him Van Helsing. Van Helsing is open to whatever's happening. He's calling it demonic possession. I love how the doctors talk about, oh, there's too much blood. There's blood. It's just always something wrong with the blood. That's always their go-to. I'm surprised that they didn't do any bloodletting in this movie. Would have been hilarious how in the early 1800s, people would just attach leeches to you and that would be the end of it. You're cured, you're safe. They're giving people ether, you know, just crazy drugs to just sedate them and calm them down. It's really cool how there's a bunch of mice and rats running around. It seems like the plague is happening while also Dracula's curse is happening at the same time. So the residents, they can't tell the difference. They just think the plague is there and they think it was brought by a boat that crashed and all the rats spilled out of it. So it's everything blends and works well. This is a good movie. I give it an 8 out of 10 because of how graphic it is and how smoothly the writing is conveyed to the watcher, to me, to you, to anyone that watches it. I highly recommend, if you're a vampire fan, to check this movie out. If you're a Bram Stoker fan, if you're a horror movie fan, it doesn't necessarily rely on jump scares. It has a lot more nuanced terror, but it does rely on the darkness, the shadows, and the unknown, which is really interesting. The acting is really good. You really believe that these people are insane or that they're cursed. It's just great. I initially believed that this movie was going to only be around for Christmas, but I've heard that it's going to be around for longer than that. So if you get a chance, definitely check it out. And before I end this video, funny story, tonight has been insane. I just got back from the movies, so I'm dressed up. So I get to the movies, I show them my ticket, which I purchased online, and they're like, this is for yesterday. I thought the movie was supposed to come out on the 25th. I'm like, how is it for yesterday? And I'm just utterly confused, a little irritated too. But they're like, yeah, we could just give you a chair for today instead of just giving you a refund. And I'm like, all right, cool. So as I'm trying to sort the situation out, lady walks up to me, can I get a picture of your outfit? Just you with my kids? And I'm like, yeah, just give me a second. I'm trying to sort out my ticket. She gets annoyed. I guess she had no patience or she needed to leave. She's like, never mind, God bless. And I'm like, you interrupted me, lady. Like, I'm just trying to fix my ticket situation. Like, all right. That was pretty strange. And then I guess I misheard the person. He reserved a seat for me. It was like for F7, but I thought it was for F17. So I get there and this couple is like, oh, you're on our seats. And I'm like, So it's kind of annoying. I didn't miss any of the movie when I sat down. There were still previews happening. A lot of these new movies kind of suck. Like a lot of these new movies, just the premise is just so weak, and they're like relying on just good actors, but like the stories are just not strong. It's really disappointing. Of all the previews I saw, they were all like, if they were all just rehashed ideas, slightly tweaked. Really disappointing. But I'm sitting through the movie. Really good movie. I sit for the credits. Nothing happens after the credits. That's fine. I drive home. I'm home. Guy walks up to my car. Like, you jump my car. And I always forget to buy jumper cables, but he has these jumper cables that plug into an outlet. And I'm like, if you don't have any juice, it's useless. I'm like, we could push your car to a better parking space so it doesn't get towed. And I'm looking at his car and his lights are super bright and everything's working. I'm like, maybe it's your starter. But as we push the car, his lights get more dim. So I'm like, maybe your battery is dying. But I'm looking at his car and I'm like, it could be the alternator, the starter, or the battery. Something's gotta be wrong. And he doesn't know anything about cars. And I'm like, I'm sleepy right now. So I'm just trying to troubleshoot and figure it out. But we pushed the car. I'm wearing my crazy vampire clothes, my insane, really thin, pointed boots, no grip whatsoever, just sliding on the snow outside. That was crazy. It was fun. This has been a very eventful day. I had a really good time watching that movie and just dealing with people. I don't get out much. But yes, if you get the chance, if the movie is still out, go in theaters and watch Nosferatu. It's a gruesome movie, it's a cool movie, and it was a good time. Thank you for listening to me rant about it, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.